In a few short steps, we're going to make this young man look like he has a black eye and an incision on his forehead. It's done by using different layers and the brush tool. So this is what we hope that he'll look like afterwards once we're all done. Right? So you can start by adding a new layer. We normally don't want to deface or destroy the layer of the photo if at all possible. Many times we actually click and make a new layer by dragging it down into the plus sign so that we have a copy in case we need to start over again. But we're going to use a layer above. So I've created this new layer, layer 5. All right. I'm going to use the brush tool, and the brush tool is best served for us when the hardness is set somewhere low, not a full hard edge, but something super soft. So I'm going all the way to 0%. All right. The next thing that is great for this is to open up your swatches panel. Okay. Click on swatches. We can save some colors to actually utilize in this area. And we're going to create the bruise around his eye first. So bruises tend to come in some reds, some dark violets or dark blues, and even the healing outer edges sometimes have a little bit of yellow green. So this is similar to Illustrator in that I could come over here and I could go to the color picker and I could find some of these kinds of colors. Maybe I want to find a nice dark bruisey blue. I'm going to come down here and choose something really dark. Okay, and I'll click OK. And then I come back to my swatches panel and I hit the plus sign at the bottom to add this to my collection. And there it is. All right. So we're going to use some colors and some soft brushing, but that's not the only thing. We cannot paint on a photograph and expect it to look normal if we are just taking the color, taking the brush as it is, and the opacity staying right at 100. That's going to look a lot more like spray paint. Okay, there's my example. We want this to look like it is blending with and being able to see through some of the texture and all on his eyes. So to do that, we have two things that we need to do. One, we're going to come up under the blending mode here for the brush, and we want to choose multiply because we want what we're painting to multiply through to the lower layer. We're going to do the same thing in the layers panel so that what we create on the layer 5, or my layer 5, which would probably be your layer 1, we want that layer to blend over the top of the actual photo so that we can actually give some realism to this process. Okay, so I'm working with these two layers here. I am now going to reduce the opacity because we don't want it to be a harsh, solid, heavy line of paint. We want it to look like bruising or the beginnings of it. So we want it to be somewhat see-through. So I'm going to take this red first of all and kind of just tap my mouse. Something to keep in mind is that we can make the brush tool bigger or smaller by going to the keyboard where the letter P is, and there are two brackets to the right of letter P. The far right one makes it bigger, the left one makes it smaller. So I'm going to enlarge just a little bit. And if you feel like what you've got is still a little too dark, then lighten it up, right? You can make it a lot lighter. You can make the brush bigger and just kind of barely dab some of that around the eye. Okay. The next color I'm going to come in with is probably a little bit of some blue or violet. Let me see what the blue is going to do. So I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. I'm going to come into some of these dark areas. I might bump up my volume here. kind of doing it just a little bit. The purple is what we normally see a lot of when we're bruised, so I'm going to come in a little bit more with some of the purple and try and make this bigger. I may have gotten a little too dark, so I'm going to bring it back down. All right. And at the outer edge of some of the non-healing area yet, we're going to add a little bit of the yellow green. So here I come with some yellow green, and I'm going to make this really a lot bigger. I'm going to be very limited on how much of this I might put in because we want this to look like some of the outer area is maybe starting to heal. Okay. Now, right now, his eye is very bright against all this, and if you've been punched or you've had any eye injury or surgeries, you know that the eye itself is somewhat reddish as well. So I'm going to come back to the red. I'm going to make my brush really small. Pardon me. And I'm going to mess around a little bit with the opacity, and I'm going to just kind of give some of the redness inside the whites of the eye. That looks a little dull, so I'm going to see if let's pop a regular red in there and see what happens. Right, there we go. I'm going to lower the opacity. So it might take a little messing around to find out what kind of color. I'm going to put a little bit more red around here because that would be damaged and probably a little bloodshot. All right, but I'm really only messing with the whites of the eye. Okay, second thing, if you want to put an actual injury, say to the forehead, you can go online and look for different things. I found one. I typed up stitches or incisions, and I literally am going to just take a lasso tool, and I'm going to drag this lasso around a portion of this, taking some of the yellowish skin tone from that. This looks like it might be on an arm, but that's okay. We're going to put it somewhere else. So I'm going to go edit, copy. We're going to come back over here, and I'm going to create a new layer, not just the one that we've been painting on, and I'm going to put it over the top of that. So I'm going to come up, and we're going to do another layer, and we're going to go copy, paste. No, that's really large, right? So let's reduce it. I'm going to take it down pretty small. Okay, imagine it on his forehead. Done. And then let's zoom in. Let's zoom a little bit more. So we want this to look a little bit more realistic. So to do that, I'm going to need to take off some of the outer edges. This is where the eraser tool can come in. So I've got the eraser tool, and it's a brush. Check out the circle, right? It's a brush. I'm going to make sure it's set still to soft, okay, not hard. And I'm going to make sure that I am erasing maybe a little more than half of what we're seeing. So I'm going to come along here. I'm going to need to take a little bit more off. So let's take some more off. I need to get a little bit more, and there we go. And this can help to start to fuzz out or diffuse a little bit of that hard edge of the skin that we brought in from the other photo. Check that out. All right. So we're using the eraser to get rid of this hard edge look. And then you can add some of your blending colors to around here. It's already got a little bit of redness there. We can add a little bit more red with our brush tool. We've done that before. Right. I'm going to make the brush bigger. Add a little bruising, a little bit of red to that. Might add a little bit of the healing yellow green to certain areas. They're a little dark purple into some smaller spaces. And we have ourselves an incision. Woohoo! Wasn't there before, and it is now. So that is a quick way to kind of bring in some different facial features and to adapt them for anything haunting in your images.